All right, hey everybody, this is Rosh, and you are watching FM9 Basics. This is a YouTube tutorial series I'm putting together to help new and experienced users program all the Fractal products, including the FM3, the FM9, and the X3. So a little about myself. Once again, my name is Rosh, and I build and program guitar rigs out here in the LA area, as well as online. So my clients include Steve Vai, Leppard, Melissa Etheridge, Perfect Circle, Bush, Papa Roach, and more. And I wanted to give back to the Fractal community and show some tips and tricks on how to program all the Fractal products. And in this case, this is going to be the FM9. Now, this can also apply to the X3 and slightly to the FM3. So one of the things that I do get asked a lot is if I have any presets that I've either uploaded to the Exchange or that I have available for purchase or anything. And generally, I've always kind of been a little bit reluctant to do that just because there's so many variables out there that, depending on the type of guitar you play, the type of music you play, how you play as a player, do you, strike the strings really hard, or are you more finger style? I mean, there's so many variables. There's so many different styles of music out there. I never felt like I could really do anybody justice by just, putting a preset out there and going, hey, this is a preset. Now, one of the previous series that I did was with these gig-ready presets for the Helix, and I did get a lot of requests from other people to make gig-ready presets for any of the Fractal products. So there's been a lot of requests for this kind of thing. So this is going to be kind of the start of a new series of things where you can actually, I'm going to build a preset. I'm going to walk you through my thought process on all these presets that I build, and then you can either purchase them online. I'm going to have a link in the description below to Gumroad, which is just a, reputable digital product seller. You can totally purchase these presets online. And let me make a couple caveats. I never want any type of financial constraint to prevent people from, being able to use any of the Fractal products. So I'm going to go through all the settings here in this preset that I built. And you can totally copy this, just follow along in the video, and then you could totally do that for free. If you want to support the YouTube channel, if you want to, if you've gotten value out of all the content that I put online, by all means, feel free to purchase a preset. The prices are I feel like are pretty fair. And then you can, of course, add more, pay more if you want to support the channel or anything like that. And what I'm going to do through this series is I'm going to basically make a bunch of gig-ready presets. So if you're in a cover band, if you just got the FM9 or any of the other Fractal products and you pull it out of the box and you're just like, man, I just need something that I can take to my jam session, take to my gig tomorrow, and it's going to cover, a wide variety of sounds that I need. Maybe you're in a cover band or something. Maybe you just are starting out and you're not really sure how to tweak the presets, and maybe the user interface is a little confusing for you. This is going to be, these presets, I think, are going to be very valuable for you. Now, the number one thing that I want to do is I'm going to build these presets based on different guitars. I'm going to also build them based on different amp types. And so it'll be, a lot of different situations. And then there's probably going to be a preset somewhere in the series that can help you out. So this is going to be the first of, I don't even know how many presets I'm going to build, but the goal of these presets that I'm building is that you can just drag and drop them right into your FM9 unit. And I will be making them for other Fractal products. And then they're going to be really easy to tweak to your preferences, to your ear, to your situation. My number one goal for this whole thing about, the FM9 basics, the FM3 basics, and the XFX basics is it's meant to be easy. It's meant to be that you don't have to, get a big, deep learning curve to get a lot of use out of your Fractal product. So I want you to be able to throw these onto your your FM9 unit, and really easy to tweak on the fly, really easy to make adjustments to your playing, your guitars, your style of music, and your preferences. And I wanted to give a lot of value for what you're going to get. So let's go over this preset. Right now, this preset is basically going to be using a deluxe reverb, and I'm going to be playing a Les Paul. And then this is going to be more of a pedal platform type of preset. So this is going to be for users who are used to just basically running a bunch of different pedals in front of a clean amp. And I'm going to be building, again, a bunch of these different presets because, again, not everybody uses a deluxe reverb. You might use an AC20, you might use a Marshall. So I'm going to be building a lot of different presets that are going to be, different use cases. And I'm going to also be building the presets using different guitars as well. So this is for all you Les Paul players. I'm mainly a Les Paul player. It's my preferred guitar of choice. And again, if you're listening to this video, following along and dialing in the sounds, and you're saying, hey, you know, this preset doesn't sound, the preset that I built on my unit doesn't sound exactly the same as yours. Again, there's a lot of different variables to take into account. Could be the way you play the guitar, could be the type of pickups you have, the type of Les Paul you have, etc. And again, the goal is that with this preset, you can just put it into your unit, make a couple quick tweaks, and then you can take it out to a gig tonight. So let's just go over the signal path really quick. And for those new users, what I'm using is I'm going to be using the input and output block here, and I'm using ascend and return just to give a little bit more real estate. So let's just go over the signal path that I've built. The first thing is, of course, a wah pedal. I like the Faz wah. There are other wahs that you can use in here. So, of course, if you don't like the sound of this wah, feel free to change the wah here. Oh, and let me make a quick note that this preset will only work on firmware 8.01 and newer. So if your unit is on any firmware that is a lower number than 8.01, the preset won't load correctly. It'll load as a blank preset. So make sure you update your unit to firmware 8.01. So if you don't have your firmware already updated to that, the tools menu, you can open up FractalBot. And then right here in this dialog menu, it'll say upgrade your unit to firmware 8.01. I've already done that. And then just follow the steps along in FractalBot to update to 8.01. And now your firmware will be updated to the new one. So we have a wah pedal here. And then again, I'll go through some of these sound demos shortly. And now we have a volume block here. Now, this volume block can be used in two different ways. Some users do prefer the volume pedal in front of the amp, and some users will prefer the volume pedal after the amp. So if you do put the volume pedal in front of the amp, and let's say you use like an overdrive, by rolling the volume pedal back, you're going to notice that the gain decreases from your distortion pedal if you roll the volume back. So it sounds like this. So now, if you want to keep your gain intact, but you want to make sure that you still have control over your volume, just drag this volume block over here into this position. And again, I've made a little empty space here so that you can put the volume block here and then make sure you save the preset. So now the volume pedal can be after the amp, and any type of gain pedals used in front of it will remain the same. And instead of having the behavior of rolling off your volume knob like it is here, it'll just control the amount of level. Okay, so that's going to be a very useful thing. Again, every user is going to be different. Some users have always, again, if you're used to the amp and pedal world, you just usually had a volume pedal somewhere on your pedal board, and it was always in front of the amp. So that's what we want to do here. And this volume pedal is going to be in pedal 2 of the FM9. So again, if you have an expression pedal, make sure you calibrate it correctly and then put it into pedal 2 of the FM9 in the back. The wah pedal is going to be in pedal 1. So your expression pedal, if you have an expression pedal, you make sure if you want to use that for wah, put it into pedal jack 1. And again, with this volume pedal, this expression pedal for the wah, it's just going to be controlling just the wah function. And then again, it's going to use this auto engage feature to turn on and off. So you don't need to have any type of foot switch. You can use any of the Fractal Audio expression pedals or any other expression pedals that you have on the market. And again, it'll turn on and off automatically. So in the heel forward position, the toe forward position, heel up. So this is all the way forward. If you got it fully 10 on the gas, it'll turn on. And then if you do toe up, heel back, it'll turn off, and then you can leave it there. So then the next part in the signal path is, of course, the send block. And all the send block is doing is routing signal from this block to this block. And again, make sure your return level is at 100% there. And you want to make sure that, because if it's at 0, then any audio routed to the send and return is going to be, cut off. The next pedal in the signal path is going to be a drive pedal. And you'll notice that I have 3 different types of drive pedals. Again, this is for users who want a wide variety of sounds, but again, they're used to having, a bunch of different overdrive pedals on their pedal board. This is that type of setup. In the future, I will be doing, certain amp switching type of presets with some pedals in front, and maybe you're getting all the gain from the amp. This preset is actually just going to be used for if you have, just treating it like there's pedals in front of the amp. So the first thing that you're going to do is, the first thing that you're going to notice with each of these pedals is that they increase in gain based on where they are in the signal path. So this drive block right here is going to be basically a bunch of different clean boosts that I've dialed in. This drive pedal right here is going to be a bunch of different overdrive pedals that I've dialed in. And then this pedal right here is going to be a bunch of different distortion pedals that I drive in. So you can have a wide variety of sounds at your disposal if you need them. Now, each channel of each block is also going to be a different type of boost. Again, I'm trying to cover a wide variety of sounds for a wide different variety of players. Some players might need different sounds. Some players might need more gain, less gain. But the idea is that you're going to be able to just put this into your unit, turn the knobs wherever you need them, and then they can save. So this is the first clean boost that we have in there is the Clone Chiron, or the Klon Centaur. And basically this is kind of like a gritty clean boost. So here's your clean signal. Okay, so we got the neck pickup here. And then here's my bridge pickup. Now if we turn this on, we got just a little bit of grit. So again, if you need more gain, less gain, you can always dial the gain back, or you can always dial the level back. And I've also conveniently put it in some performance pages that I will cover in a little bit later in this video. So now you can go through each channel of this. So if this isn't to your liking, this tone isn't to your liking, no matter how much you tweak it, you can try channel B. And this time I've used a micro boost instead of the Klon. And again, I'm treating this drive block as mainly our like clean boost. This is going to add a little bit of grit to your, the amp. It's just to give you maybe a bluesy tone or something slightly crunchy, edge of breakup, as they usually say. So this is the micro boost. And again, these clean boosts are really great with a volume knob. So I'm on the bridge pickup with my volume knob at 10. If I roll it back a little bit, and again, you can do a lot of different things with a Les Paul. Here's the neck pickup all the way up. And if I roll that back, okay. And so again, if you don't want to purchase this preset, by all means, feel free to copy the settings here that you see in the video, pause at any time. All right, now the next one is the FET boost. This is like another flavor of clean boost. And then last but not least, I'm using the Esoteric RCB. This is the Exotic Effects RC booster. Again, another different type of clean boost, maybe gives you a more bluesy tone. So if you don't prefer the Klon and you prefer one of these other flavors, all you have to do is switch to the channel and then bypass the block and then hit save. And then every time you turn on the clean boost, it will always turn on, for example, the micro boost instead of the Klon. And then so you can get whatever flavor of clean boost that you like. And again, the reason why I'm using 3 overdrives is a lot of people in the pedal platform type of paradigm, you like stacking different overdrives and distortions to get different flavors of sound. The next pedal, of course, is going to be our overdrive section. So these are the overdrive blocks that I would use. And again, there's a little bit more gain. Maybe they're a little bit smoother and warmer on top. Maybe, our standard, let's say tube screamer style flavor of, overdrives that we like. So this one is in channel A. And again, each drive block, I have 4 channels of different overdrives for you to choose from. This is going to be the full tone. So here we go. And then again, this is going to be the jam ray, which is the Jan ray. And then channel C is going to be the BB preamp, the Andy Timmons version. And again, a lot of these overdrives are really great with the volume knob as well. So if I roll it back a little bit. And last but not least, the ubiquitous tube screamer, but there's a modded tube screamer. So it's got that really nasally thing that most tube screamers have. Now, again, I've just dialed these in for my preferences, my ear. What you can always do is adjust any of the level, the tone, or the drive knobs to, tweak the tone to your flavor. And again, you will have that in a performance page right here. So you can do this on the fly at a gig or sound check, just like your real pedal. So if you prefer one of these other channels as opposed to one, so let's say you like the Jan ray over the full tone overdrive, just make sure you leave this in channel B, bypass it, and hit save. And just a quick note, we are not using scenes anywhere at all in this particular preset. This is going to be, again, if you just had a pedal board and an amp. So this is going to be very useful. We'll cover this part of the, the signal path in just a second, but this is going to be, again, very useful for anybody who just wants to open the Fractal up, plug and play into your favorite full range speaker or into your studio monitors or into some type of, FR rig like a Fender FR12 or something. This should be just plug and play. And again, I've dialed this in based on, being able to use it live. This isn't going to be like some, studio sound. This is for you to get up and running really quickly with just one preset that you can just tweak on the fly. Now, the third drive block is going to be our distortion section. And again, I have 4 different channels of distortion that I've dialed in here. This is going to be more of like a rock rhythm tone. I'm going somewhere between AC/DC and, like 90s rock. So this is going to be the compulsion distortion. This is the OCD pedal right here. And again, you're going to have the ability to adjust the level, the drive, or whatever. And again, on your end, it may seem kind of loud. It may seem like, oh, that overdrive pedal the level needs to come down. I need to do that. But again, one thing I find is that just making your distortion slightly louder than your clean sounds is going to be really useful because, usually when you kick into a distortion sound, it's usually going to be like a rock rhythm chorus type of thing. So in the output block, you can see that I've just added a little bit above unity gain just to get the guitar to kind of poke through a little bit, as opposed to it being bypassed. Okay, so again, if you are playing a gig, your sound guy is going to be pretty happy because there's not going to be some big level jump when you turn on any of your overdrives or distortions. Now, in channel B, we got the Sir Riot, and again, this is going to be kind of like a high gain Marshall sound. And then in channel C, we have the Boxo Crunch, and then this is kind of like, the early iterations of Andy Timmons, different types of pedals that he's used. He has a bunch of different JHS ones, but these are all kind of like based on that. And then last but not least, we got the Sonic Drive. This is the like the Maxon SD9, favorite of Mike Landau and Scott Henderson. You'll notice that the level is all the way at 10 because we are hitting the front end of this amp to really get it to distort. And again, just another different option of distortion. So now the cool thing is, again, if you prefer one of these channels over the other, select the channel, bypass the block using spacebar or double clicking it, and then hit save. Now, because we have 3 different overdrive blocks, we can definitely stack the overdrive. So let's say I stack the clon going into the full tone just for a lot more gain. So as opposed to just the full tone by itself. And so you got a lot of different combinations you could do. Here is the clon into the full tone. Or maybe the overdrive into the distortion. So a lot of different options for all of you users out there. Next up, we got a little tremolo right here, and you'll notice that I've tied this to the tap tempo. So again, just a pretty standard generic tremolo sound. You can, of course, change this tremolo to be any type of other, modulation effect if you'd like. A lot of clients of mine and users have asked, to dial in a good tremolo sound for their cover band. So here is the clean sound. And then here is a tremolo. So a couple things to note if you are trying to dial this in for your use case. I've tied it with the tap tempo. You can have a fixed tremolo time. And again, I'm under the assumption that maybe you are a new user to the Fractal universe and you're just looking for a quick and easy way to get up and going. This is for that. If you're a power user, by all means, I might be treading over old information that you already know. But if you want to use a fixed value, click this drop-down menu and click none. And what this will allow you to do is have a fixed rate for the tremolo if you wish. So for example, if you want the tremolo to always be at that speed, regardless of wherever the tap tempo is, you can of course do that. Just like your standard stomp box tremolo, your standard tremolo stomp boxes. You can also of course adjust the depth if you need the tremolo to go deeper if you'd like. I found this was pretty non-intrusive, but of course you can go deeper if you'd like. So I'm going to put this back to, eighth notes right here. Our tempo is at 130. You can, of course, change the tempo to anything that you want. And again, this is going to be tied to the tempo. So if you do a tap tempo, and let's say you go to 80 BPM, or you tap this in right here, you'll notice that the tremolo speed changes along with the tempo of what you tap in. And now if you need the tremolo effect to be more pronounced, of course, put it after the amp like this, and you'll notice that it gets a lot more pronounced. So you can, of course, experiment with that, but I prefer a subtle tremolo, and I prefer it in the front. So I'm going to put this back to about 130, and, 130. And now let's go over the amp block. So right here, what I'm doing is I'm using the normal channel of the deluxe reverb. So of course, if you look in the amp block, you get the normal and the vibrato. So if you're familiar with the deluxe reverb, it does have 4 separate inputs. There are 2 inputs for the normal side and 2 inputs for the vibrato side of a deluxe reverb. I prefer the normal side. I do own a deluxe reverb. I find that the deluxe reverb normal side plays better with pedals, because usually a very common mod that you would make on a deluxe reverb is clipping the bright cap to get rid of, kind of that upper end harsh treble that you hear at the vibrato channel. So I do prefer the normal channel, and it plays well with drive pedals. Now, one thing to notice here is that, and again, I put this into performance tab right here, that you can adjust the gain and the level of the amp. So if you need more distortion or less distortion, you can turn that knob, and I'll show later on in the video how to do that. So again, I dialed it in for right around here. And one thing that I go for a lot of, clean amps is that I go for something close to the edge of breakup. And this parameter down here, this headroom parameter, is really useful for that, because if you, for example, play really light, you'll notice that the headroom parameter, you're not hearing any clipping of the amp. So what I am using is the neck pickup, and even if I dig in hard, you're not going to hear the amp like distort or anything. But now if I go to the bridge pickup, it will distort if I dig in really hard. But you can of course pick lighter. You can roll your volume knob back. So there are a lot of different options, and because we're close to the headroom of the amp, then your drive pedals are going to react a lot better because they're pushing the front end of the amp. They're going to be a little bit smoother. You get a little bit more of the, kind of warm harmonic content that a great amp gives you when it's on the edge of breakup. And again, this still can be useful for like even if you're playing funk or some type of thing where you really need to be clean. So again, with the neck pickup of Les Paul, you can even use, obviously the middle. So that's kind of why I've chosen the Deluxe Reverb to, kind of be dialed in this fashion. If you pull up the Deluxe Reverb just out of the box, all the knobs basically default to being at noon. With a Deluxe Reverb with the gain knob at 5, it's already going to be pretty crunchy and distorted. So you definitely want to turn the gain down and then turn the level parameter up. If you actually own a Deluxe Reverb, this gain knob is going to correspond to the volume knob on the Deluxe Reverb. That is actually more of a gain knob on the Deluxe Reverb because as you crank it up, it's going to get more distorted. I think it's a little bit louder, but those 22 watts on a Deluxe Reverb will, start grinding up a little bit. All right. Next up, we got a chorus. And again, you can put any type of chorus or any other type of modulation effect in there. I just felt like maybe a chorus might be useful for a lot of users. And in this case, we're just using the Japan CE2. And again, I'm tying this to the tap tempo. If you want to have it at a fixed value, you can of course use none and then select whatever value you want. And these are pretty much the stock settings. I find that the CE2 is a really great choice. If you like something else, the Boss Dimension chorus is also really great. If you want to try that instead, but you can use any of the other types of choruses or your own preference on modulation effect. And then we are going to go into the delay, and I'm using the Deluxe Mind Guide. This is a Deluxe Memory Man delay. Again, just pretty standard delay sound. And again, this is tied to the tap tempo. My goal always with these presets that are going to be part of the series is they're going to be super easy to dial in to your preference. So the main two knobs that you're going to worry about is the feedback and the mix. And again, for Fractal Power users, you'll notice that I'm doing something very simple here. I'm not using the standard mixing laws where you would put this at 50% with a level of 3 dB and use the input gain. That can be a big, tough challenge for new users. So if you want to add more of the delay, just turn up the mix. If you want to add more repeats, turn up the feedback, and then you can of course do the reverse. So if we want more delay, more of the delay effect in the mix, it'll sound like this. And of course, you can add more feedback if you want more repeats, or you can add less. So it's totally up to you if you want to do that, but you can totally do that. And again, if you want fixed tempo rather than tying it to the tap tempo, select that drop-down menu and select none, and then set the tempo of the delay wherever you'd like it. The next is this reverb. This is the Studio Reverb. It's one of the Lexicon. It's based on one of the Lexicon reverbs. Again, something pretty generic sounding to my ears. Pretty standard, kinds of adds just a little bit of space to your guitar sound, nothing too fancy about this, as opposed to this. So again, I wanted this to be easy to dial in for users. If you want to add more of a tail, you would increase the time. If you want to add more of the effect, just increase the mix. So the next one is a bigger reverb. This is if you're going to be doing some ambient stuff. For some of you users out there who are maybe playing churches, this might be useful for you. And then this is going to be the Nimbus Stratus. This is one of the cloud style reverbs of the Fractal. Pretty great sounding. And again, combining it with the delay or something, you can do all kinds of cool little volume swell stuff. So you can do something like that. And again, if you need to adjust any of these parameters, the time is going to be how long the tail is, and then the mix is how prominent the effect is in the mix. And again, you may notice that if you've been watching this YouTube series for a long time, you notice that I generally run all my time-based effects in parallel. This preset is meant for users that just want to keep it really simple, just standard amp and pedal kind of stuff. In the future, other presets are going to be, dealing with maybe more, advanced routing and maybe some channel switching or using different scenes, etc. All right, last but not least, penultimate, as they would say. This is a null filter. This filter block is basically just running as a volume boost. You'll notice that there is a volume boost button in the FC, the foot controller. And again, this is just to increase the volume. Maybe if you want to, play something for guitar solo. And again, if you can combine this with any of the effects that you have. So you turn on an overdrive, and then maybe you're playing rhythm guitar, and then you want to boost into a lead sound, you would turn that on. And then over here in the last block here, this is a deluxe, the Dynacab, and I've just dialed in using the deluxe reverb, and then using the deluxe tweed right here, just to add a little bit of just some warmth to it. Of course, you can use the deluxe verb. Either one is going to sound fine. It's pretty subtle, but either one sounds pretty good. And yeah, nothing too fancy here. This is, again, just, pretty standard, what it's going to sound like with having your deluxe reverb, mic'd up. And what we want to do is just make sure that you'll notice that I made these low and high cuts here. And again, this just helps your guitar sit in the mix better. If you go all the way down to 20 hertz, you're going to get a lot of bass. You're going to get a lot of low end that doesn't need to be in your guitar tone, and you're going to compete with the kick drum and the bass player. And again, these are pretty standard low and high cuts for most things. They'll help you sit in the mix better. You won't have to compete with cymbals and the vocals, and you won't have to compete with bass drum and bass guitar. And so that's going to be super useful for a lot of people. Now, you may notice that I'm going out of output 1 here, but I do shunt off out of output 3 here. So for you users who are using maybe a Seymour Duncan Power Stage or a Matrix GT 800 FX or GT 1000 FX, and you're splitting off because you want to use like a real guitar cabinet on stage with a power amp, I've already included that in this preset for you. So what you need to do is, if you're going to be going into a power amp, just go out of output 3, left or right, into the power amp, and then use the power amp for your stage volume. Now, note that output 3 on the Fractal needs to be fully clockwise. So you can see me just kind of reach my hand in there. Just make sure the output 3 knob is fully clockwise. That's going to be unity gain. And you can see that in the setup menu in audio. You want to make sure that the right here, the mode is not boosted or padded or anything, and then it's going to be unity gain. You may notice here that I'm just doing mono right here. You can, of course, still run stereo. There are no stereo effects here. So if you don't want to deal with any of this kind of stuff, you can just keep it at whatever settings you have. Again, I'm trying to make it super simple for a lot of users. so that they can use, their Fractal products wherever. One thing to note is that I am using copy output 1 right here. And so this allows you to use output 2 as a separate output without needing the output 2 block in there. You can, of course, add the output 2 block, but I find that's going to be redundant. And it also adds CPU usage. And again, this allows you to, for example, go out of output 1, going to front of house, output 2, going to like a stage wedge or in-ears or something. And then output 3 is going to go to your power amp. Now, I've covered that in a bunch of different videos, a bunch of different outputs, so definitely watch those videos if you need a little bit more details on that. For this particular preset, output 1 and output 3 is probably going to be sufficient. You can go out of output 1 direct to front of house, output 3 direct to your power amp on stage. But you can also, if you are running stereo, you can go out of output 1 to your full range cabinet on stage. And then with this copy output 1 right here set up, you can go out of output 2 to like a full range cabinet on stage and have independent control between both. So either or is probably going to be fine. And I think, even with that being said, since we got enough DSP headroom, maybe I'll just add the output 2 block here, and then I'll include that with the final preset, and we'll just hit save. So what you'll see here is that's kind of the main guts of this particular preset. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to transition over to the actual FM9 itself, so you can see and have access to all the blocks, all the effects based on the foot controller. Now, before we do that, what I'm using these per preset overrides. Now, again, for you new users, you don't need to concern yourself too much with this in case you're unsure of what it is. I have plenty of content about it. But basically, if you are using any of the standard Fractal layouts, these per preset overrides basically mean that this preset is going to kind of have these labels on here. But if you, for example, go, to the next preset, there's like a blank preset, it's going to default back to whatever the factory layouts you have or whatever layouts you do have on your FM9 unit. So again, this preset was designed so that when you just put it into your FM9, it's already going to have all the effects that are present in the preset right there for your usage. You don't have to go through any type of layout thing. I found that I found that a lot of users or clients that have reached out to me that I've helped in the past, they might download some presets on Exchange, or they purchase some presets from some third-party sellers, and then they're very confused on how to install them, how to access any of the effects on there. There's like 300 presets in the pack that they just bought, and unfortunately, it just becomes kind of really difficult to just get usable sounds right out of the box. So I wanted to make it really easy for people, where you just install this preset, and then here's your clean boost, your overdrive, and your distortion. You have your chorus, your delay, and then your volume boost, tremolo, the big reverb, and then you have a tap tempo. And of course, you hold down the tap tempo button to turn on the tuner. And you don't have to mess with anything. You don't have to make a brand new layout for this particular preset. Or if you have a different layout than what the preset builder did, it may be an issue or whatever. So you have all your effects ready to go right out of the box. So let me just transition to kind of an overhead shot of where the presets are and go over a couple quick things. So one of the things that's going to be really useful is that when you load this preset and when you purchase the FM9 or whatever, you're always going to be in this particular screen. This is just kind of like the home screen. So again, if you find yourself in a completely different menu, let's say it looks like this, hitting the home button right there gets you to this screen. Now, one of the things that's can be a challenge for new users of any Fractal product is a lot of people think, oh, well, how do I tweak my sounds live at the gig or live at soundcheck? So I've included some performance pages for you. So if you hit this page right button right here, you're going to go to this performance page, and this performance page lives on this particular preset. So if we, for example, go to another empty preset, that performance page will not exist. It only exists within the preset I built. So this particular preset has this performance page, and then you'll notice that you have the amp, gain, and level. So the cool thing is you can, of course, adjust, the level of the amp or the gain of the amp just by twisting these two knobs. So the knob that corresponds with the parameter is going to adjust what you need. So for example, if you want to adjust the gain of the overdrive, the tone, or the level of the overdrive, this effect right here, you can turn any one of these three knobs on the fly. And then cool thing is it'll do it in real time as you play it. And then same thing is if you want to adjust any of the gain, tone, or level of the distortion, this particular effect, you can use these three knobs. And then these two knobs are going to be relegated to the clean boost, adjusting the gain and the level of the clean boost. So to navigate between both of these rows, you use these two nav buttons right here. So the cool thing is, as you turn on any of your effects, you can leave it on this page and you can use this to adjust any of your levels. So of course, if you need your amp to be louder, you can just turn this level up. If there's too much gain on the amp or you need more gain on the amp, you can just do that. And these other three knobs are going to be for adjusting, the amount of level and overdrive and distortion that you need. Now, again, I've already programmed, for example, the wah. And again, it's going to just turn on and off based on that expression pedal. And of course, I have the volume pedal right here. So just make sure your expression pedals are calibrated correctly. I have other content out there to calibrate them. You'll notice that you have the clean boost, the overdrive, and a distortion to use. You can stack them, or you can use all three if you need to. And then if you need to boost for a solo, it says volume boost. This isn't to be confused with a clean boost. A clean boost is generally something that's just going to grit up the amp a little bit. And then we got our chorus, delay, big reverb, and tremolo. And of course, if you want to tap tempo the delay so it's in a certain tempo or time, you can do that as well. And then if you hold down the tap tempo, it'll turn on the tuner. And again, you want to make sure that in the tuner settings right here, you can press this A button and then just make sure the configuration says mute to the input. You can also do that in FM9 edit. So just make sure that it's that. But again, this particular preset, great for, it's obviously dialed in for Les Paul. It's designed for users who just want to have like one clean amp with a bunch of different pedals in front of it and not have to worry too much about it. Now, because we have an output 1, 2, and 3 block, each of these output knobs are completely independent of each other. Again, if you are planning on using a power amp, just keep the output 3 knob fully clockwise. And then using output 1 and 2, you have independent volume controls. So for example, if you use output 2 for your stage monitor, you can turn this up and down and it won't affect the output of output 1. So really useful. You can turn up the level of your stage volume without turning up the level going to front of house, let's say, and anything like that. Of course, you can do the inverse of that. But again, you have a lot of tweakability there. Now, by default, the global performance pages is going to be that third tab right there by hitting page right. These are the defaults from the factory. So it definitely gives you access to more knobs on your amp sound. Generally with this preset, you probably won't need that, but again, you can use it if you like. This performance page right here is going to be for all the effects that we have in there, except the chorus delay and the time-based effects. You're going to have to either go into the layout and adjust them or adjust them in FM9 edit before you take the FM9 on the gig. Again, the goal of this particular series of presets is to give you a lot of different options. I find that a lot of preset builders maybe don't give very clear instructions. Maybe they need a video to go along with it. So, I'm taking it upon myself to start doing that for the community out there. So, other than that, I'm going to start, putting together more presets with different guitars. So if you found this preset valuable, or at least this walkthrough, by all means, feel free to leave a comment below. If you have any requests like, hey, Rosh, I play a, Strat going into like an AC30. Can you build a preset based on that? And what effects would you use, etc. That'll be great. Would be happy to. As well as if you're using, a channel switching amp, which I plan to cover in the future. But again, this is going to be the first in the series for pedals using a deluxe reverb with a Les Paul. So other than that, if you want to get this preset, go to the Gumroad link down below in the description, or you can reach out to me directly. And if you need any help programming any of your Fractal products, by all means, feel free to reach out to me directly as well, and would be happy to set up a one-on-one session with you to help get all your sounds ready to go. And hope everything is going well with you, and I will see you guys next time. Thanks.
I'm falling with you, I'm standing with you, got it all in my hands, but I don't know how to breathe. I'm walking outside, taking